Thank you very much, General, and the chairperson. General, I just want to ask if you know, or maybe let me put it differently. What interested you into joining the police?
When I grew up in the township of Ashdown in Pietermaritzburg, I witnessed at the time the IFP and ANC were in lockerheads in the same township. When I started witnessing how people have been killed and nothing happens, and people, some of them that I knew, it is part of the thing that drove me to say, what can I do to assist in this regard? So that's what influenced me to join the police. And I must say, Honorable Member, when I joined, it was exactly that I needed to fight the criminals. That's why I chose the career that I chose in the service. That I'm not going to join the police station to go and be a court orderly. No, that's not what I want. I want to be there on the ground and deal with action.
Then you went to the college, and then from the college?
When I trained in Pretoria College, and from there I went to Potchefstroom, the Public Order Police Unit in Potchefstroom. At the time, you couldn't choose where to go. The only option was to become a detective or you become a uniform branch. And because I wanted to be on the field, they said to me, then the highly trained unit that you must go to is Internal Stability Unit. Maybe that's the right word to use at the time. In June 1993, when I joined, it was called Internal Stability Unit, but then later changed the name to Public Order Police.
And then how do you arrive at the task force?
I became aware of the special task force. When I joined the police, the Internal Stability Unit used to wear camouflage. The camouflage I was wearing on the 6th of July. When the amalgamation happened and the camouflage was stopped from POP, it was directed that POP must be issued with the uniform that the shirt looks the same as pants. It was introduced there, that shirt. Usually it used to be a light blue shirt and a gray pants. But POP was introduced with the same type of color and to stop wearing camouflage. So we did not wear camouflage. And then an unfortunate incident happened in the area called Shoba in Potchefstroom, where the African National Congress had won the elections in 1994. And the few members of the IFP, few members of the ANC that are located within the village of IFP started celebrating that victory. They erected their flag, the ANC flag, to celebrate the victory of the African National Congress. And I happened to be there and I warned them. I said, you are calling for trouble. You're in the middle of the ocean. You're an island. You can't be raising up this flag and celebrating, whereas your neighbors are not happy with the fact that they were defeated. And then it so happened that shortly after that, those people were attacked by IFP. They were killed. And after the murder happened, the leadership of the police brought the investigation team from the national office to come to Potchefstroom. And that investigation team was accompanied by task force. So it was the first time I see people in camouflage that we are no longer wearing. So when I saw them there, and I asked them, but who are you? Because we don't wear this uniform anymore. Then they said, no, they are special task force. So I asked them, what do you do as special task force? They started explaining to me. That's how I first learned about the task force. So it was exciting for me because I always wanted to be in such an environment and I never knew about it. And fast forward, I took a transfer to Durban. When I arrived in Durban, the current command of the task force in Durban, Kelenyao, was there, the unit, and I saw him and I engaged with him and he said, no, they recently decentralized the task force to Durban. And then he gave me the video of what the task force does. I went to see it and I watched the video and I realized, okay, now this is troublesome. And then I was excited and I joined it.
So it's safe, it's safe for me to call you a career policeman.
Yeah, well, we can call me that I've been pursuing different areas in the police all my life until now.
Are you aware of something called deployment cadres?
No, we don't do that in the police. We don't use the cadres names.
No, I'm saying, are you aware of policy of a deployment cadres?
I always hear from the ruling party talking about deployment cadres.
You are not a product of a deployment cadre policy. You are a career policeman.
Yeah, no, I'm a career policeman, unfortunately.
Those deployed cadres that came into SAPS who had no career in the police. Some claim to fame, they're from exile, they were underground, they were this, they were that. Do you think they helped to improve the policing in this country, or they deteriorated to where we find it today?
Yeah, I think the latter part is more appropriate. I think with this amalgamation and the presence of people who did not grow up in the police, the first thing that I think created a problem was to undermine the discipline culture of the police. That we don't use that culture. The word comrade was introduced at the time, with the police officers, a constable started calling it a captain comrade, which was foreign to the police. So the moment they started addressing each other like that, it just made the situation worse. The situation became worse after the ANC Polokwane conference in 2007. Because while you were there in a conference, when the former deputy president, who became a president later, was fired, that's where we started seeing the real division. Because he gets fired, and the police that's supposed to protect the former deputy president at the time, started not getting favors or support from their commanders in Pretoria. And the former president will travel with his members in an armored vehicle where the windows don't open in the 35 degrees heat. And the aircon won't be working. And they will be traveling London bread of KZN. And they'll be calling their commanders for a better vehicle, and they will be told that man is not a president. So he must drive in that heat. So the members started experiencing that. So the members within that space started getting conditioned into politics themselves, because then they favor this one who's now not treated bad. Fast forward to that, we then have a conference in Polokwane. The police management goes there, but they don't go there to police the African National Congress conference. They are going there to erect their own marquee tent on the side with alcohol and everything else to celebrate the victory that was coming. And the unfortunate part happened is that the deputy president who was fired won that election in Polokwane. And the return of the leadership back to Pretoria changed everything in the police, because we started getting a recruitment to join political parties within the police premises in Pretoria, within the protection services in the main. The division of the police got affected the most is the PSS that protects the VIPs. The members were recruited to join Coup as a political party by police generals in the police premises. So that was just the beginning of the downfall of what followed thereafter. So you then start hearing senior officers in the police started calling comrades, comrade. And it became the terminology used throughout. And yeah, I think that amalgamation and the presence of the people that regarded themselves as politicians was the downfall of the discipline of the organization.
And that road went even worse in the crime intelligence.
Yeah, well, the members of crime intelligence might not necessarily have been politicians per se that are involved in the road, but the leadership that arrived at crime intelligence were comrades. As I said earlier, you arrive in, you are an executive member, you're a senior member, you find people know the system inside who are junior, and they capture you. They manipulate you. They make you live a comfortable life, and you are happy with that, but you don't pay attention on what they are doing in the bottom. So that's exactly what happened there. Yes, the leadership might have been from the political party coming to crime intelligence, but their intention was not the bad intentions. But when they arrived, they found these resources within crime intelligence that make available to them. And they took those resources and these resources made their life comfortable. And it just became a culture without realizing that these members that are making this life comfortable, they are actually causing more damage internal. So when these leadership are moving And anyone that comes as the leader, they want to capture the person. And this one goes and the other one comes in, they want to capture. It became a culture. And I must say, the culture that developed might not necessarily be a political culture, but the greed and members within the service that started getting involved in business and started getting interested in money. They might not necessarily be politicians themselves. They were pure police officers. But because they knew how the system works and they saw these sinners that don't know the system, and then they started manipulating it. So both ways, then you could blame the senior police officers, although junior, as well as those ones that came from outside the organization.
But in the body of, I hear the leadership, in the body of the crime intelligence, were there no cadres who were claiming to come from Bokoto, in the ANC underground intelligence and all of that, who joined the intelligence, not as leadership, but as operatives?
Yeah, they
now get involved in these covert operations, but they don't have necessarily the skill or qualifications as career policemen.
Sure, there's a lot of them that arrive like that. There was a lot of them. We've had a system that we're trying to work with in the police of the former non-statutory force members that needed to be rewarded in some degree within the service that were employed in. So they arrive at different levels. Some of them were constables, sergeants, and up the ranks. The others that came on a senior level, but others grew within the service.
So how do you become now the acting national commissioner?
I don't know whether I should thank my grandmother, wherever she is, because I was sleeping, and I was going to wake up in the next morning to travel with the National Commission of Police to visit Mpumalanga province. When I get a phone call from the General Ladla, who was in charge of the presidential team, and he says to me that the minister wanted to see me in the morning. I did not know the reason for that call. I then had to phone the chief of staff at the office, actually spokesperson of the Minister of Police at the time, who was a spokesperson. That general was a spokesperson of the National Commission, General Cyril, because he was the National Commission of the Police. I phoned her and I told her, say, we're supposed to be traveling in the morning with a police jet to Mpumalanga. I've been called by the minister, so I'm no longer traveling. I don't know what he wants. But ordinarily, because I'm from the Special Task Force at the time, and I'm in charge of the component that deals with Special Task Force and all these high-risk operations, from time to time, if the presidential team have got some risks that they've identified somewhere, they always call on us to come and provide that technical support on them. I thought maybe there's something that might be a threat, either with the president team or somewhere that the minister wanted to talk about. I arrive in his house and he says to me, the president wanted to see me, so I must go and meet the president. I went to the president and the president says, I've now taken a decision to appoint you as acting national commissioner because we are suspending General Cele based on the procurement of that building in Pretoria. So it came as a shock. And that was that. That's how I was appointed.
Who's the president at that time?
President Zuma.
Who's the minister?
Minister Mteto, Nathi Mteto, the late.
And then how do you leave that position of acting?
And ceremoniously so, because I was frustrated with the role that the minister was playing over Mdluli over time. And I felt that I cannot be able to work within the political space in this fashion. If this is how the people operate or occupying these positions supposed to interact with executive authority, I'm not willing to take instructions of this nature because they are not right. They are wrong. They are encroaching into the management responsibility of the police commission, of the national commissioner. Maybe I must talk about the experience that also I had learned prior to that. Mdluli is the only general in the South African Police Service that was ever appointed by the panel of ministers in the history since we started in 95 to date. I said the act only allows a minister to appoint a national head, nobody else. But the Mdluli's post, panel, was presided over by the late Minister Mteto, and I don't know who are the panel members that were part of it. The person who was the acting national commissioner at the time, Commissioner Williams, was excluded from the process. Mdluli then gets appointed. So which then Mdluli, there was the intention of getting Mdluli at crime intelligence by all means. For what good reason and what experience did Mkhwanazi had at the time? From my assessment, I realized there was other reasons other than his competency to do the job that made him to be rewarded by being given a crime intelligence post by the minister at the time. So fast forward to that. When there's these disciplinary steps taken against Mkhwanazi, the ministers want to intervene and say, you can't do this and that. You can't discipline the man. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. The minister. So we then confirmed that he brought him into the organization because it was a reward for him to come in there. And so that conflict and having assessed these things, and I must say, Honorable Chair and members, I did not know about the Coup before until Sheraton Hotel in Pretoria, when I was invited to meet these gentlemen by the late minister who says, do not use City Press and Sunday Times to advertise. We always advertise posts on those newspapers because they've got a big footprint in the country. We're looking for something, we advertise on those newspapers. And the minister says, don't use those papers because they're not helping, they don't want to transform and so forth. Use New Age. Yeah, well, I thought, okay, maybe we need to rotate papers, maybe New Age must have an opportunity. I didn't even know what is New Age. Then I went to the office. When I presented this into the management, they said to me, you know who owns New Age? I said, no, who owns it? They say the Guptas. I said, okay, so what is wrong? At the time, remember, I'm coming from operation side. I don't even know what this Guptas about. They said, no, these ones are implicated politically in this fashion and that fashion. Besides, they don't have the footprint equal to what the Sunday Times and City Press has. So if we advertise through them, a lot of people are not going to get information anyway, because they don't supply their papers across the land and breadth of the country. So that's how I got to expose. So taking those and adding them together, then I realized I'm in deep in the political space here, and I'm not comfortable with this, and I cannot take it. I'm either going to fight with the minister, which is going to end ugly. Let me tell the president that this is not what I signed for. So it's either the president allows the minister to do what he does, or he let me go and go back to the operations and chase criminals. So that's how the president decided he's going to bring someone, and then Jarpiaha came. And indeed, I went to sit at home for a year without doing anything.
Now, when the minister communicates to you not to continue with cases against Mkhwanazi, how does he do that? Does he write a letter? Does he call a meeting? How does he communicate that? Please stop cases against Mkhwanazi.
Yeah, he called me into a meeting in his residence, and it is in his residence where he was in company of the Inspector General of Intelligence, Advocate Kagame, the late, where he says to me that the advocate was telling him that I forced her, that she must recommend that Mkhwanazi be charged. That's where we had a debate, because I did not force her. And I told the minister, if you want me to do what you say I must do, put it in black and white. And they did not want to put in black and white. Instead, he instructed the Inspector General to put it in black and white, so that I use Inspector General's recommendations for me not to charge Mkhwanazi. That is on a disciplinary part. But on the criminal part, it was not the minister directly, but it was Advocate Mkhwanazi from the NPA. I hope the members have got Advocate Bredenbach, who's an MP here, who's a member of this committee. Perhaps she must come and sit here and talk to the committee and explain what was her role on that case, because I understand that she was the one who was holding that criminal case against Mkhwanazi, where she was instructed, from what I was told, to withdraw that case from court. That had already said. So why did she then comply with that instruction? I have no clue.
Now, when you communicate to the president that we're engaged in some illegal activity which I didn't sign up for, how do you communicate that to the president? Because the president would have ordinarily asked for something in a written form. What did they say to you? Or did you write to the president? How did you communicate this to the president, that there's something going on, which is not up to what we are expected to do as police?
It is unfortunate that I did not write to him. I went there in person. So I had a one-on-one engagement with the president about it. And You're correct, Honourable Member. I would have expected the President to conduct some investigation on this thing, but the President didn't. He simply said, okay, if you're having issues with the minister, just give me time. I'm going to appoint someone else to take over from you. And that was the end of the meeting.
And that's President Zuma we're talking about?
That's correct.
We did not do anything about this matter when you communicated to him that we have been invited into doing wrong things?
Yeah, no, they didn't do anything about it.
Now, why do they put you at home after releasing you? They went to fetch you from your position, ask you to come and act, and then when you say, I can't be part of a criminal syndicate, you are sent home. What do they communicate to you around that time? What is the reason of you staying at home?
Honourable members, when I had met with the minister, I called the entire top management of the SAPS and I told them what transpired in the minister's residence. And I told them that they must prepare themselves, that they are all going to be fired and they're going to be victimized because whoever is going to come in is going to come with a mandate that perhaps will say they must get rid of everyone. Some of the senior managers took me serious, others did not take me serious. But because I was prepared for that, indeed that will happen. Maybe Gerald Pierre must come here and explain why she did not allocate me a post for that long and allow me to sit at home and draw a salary every month. See, she will have to come and explain that because she was the boss. She's the one who's going to have to come and explain that despite my experience, as I've displayed here, that she will choose to appoint junior people to go and act in positions that they did not have much of experience of, whereas I'm sitting at home. There was a person who was a non-trained police officer. With respect, she joined the police and she's heading our training currently. She was deployed as a head of crime intelligence at one stage by Gerald Pierre.
Will I be correct that you were actually being punished for being disciplined?
I believe so. I believe so, Honourable Member, because it did not only end there. It was not only about sitting at home. It was sitting at home and state security, crime intelligence, deploy counterintelligence against Mkhwanazi, against Khumalo, against Masimolo. So we were not just kept at home, but we've been monitored 24/7.
General, you know, you speak interestingly about 2011, especially in relation to crime intelligence. What was happening in 2011? So some of us for sure were very young, we can't remember properly. What was happening in 2011? Because you keep on referring to 2011, and we're trying to imagine what really happened in the crime intelligence in 2011, which you see it now and gives you those flashbacks of what happened in 2011.
I said, honourable members, I wouldn't want us to maybe go too deep back, but many things were pronounced, ventilated at the Zondo Commission about intelligence, things that were happening. I will invite you to go and read that report again. But at crime intelligence at the time, what was dominating the media space was the looting of the secret fund account in such a manner that it ended up getting a name of slush fund. Majority of the citizens know it as slush fund. It's not a slush fund. It's a secret service account. But because it was misused to that extent, it then became a slush fund. That's what was dominating the media space in 2011 when I came in, which was a sore point within crime intelligence.
But I'll also invite you to go and check my YouTube at that time where I said, when you speak on the phone, you must first greet General Mdluli before you speak to the person you're speaking about, because they were known for illegal interceptions at that time. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. That's why Gerald Cyril himself, as initial commissioner at that time, fell victim of the same thing.
Now, you now are back, you're appointed. I know you went acting, came back, and then you appointed a provincial commissioner in KZN. How does that happen now? And what is the minister's position in relation to that? Did you object to your appointment or anything of that sort? Or there was consensus that you must go to KZN?
You talk about 2021?
No, when you became full-time, yeah, not acting.
Look, when I approached the National Commissioner in December, there were delays. I met with the minister because he needed to be consulted. Minister Cyril at that time did not want me to leave the head office. He wanted me to still remain at the head office. And he felt that maybe my expertise would be wasted if I go to the province. I'm better off to assist at the national level. But I pleaded with him that I needed a new challenge. So it took that long until March. That is when I think they started engaging with the executive in the province, where the agreement was reached. And then I was informed that I can go and start in April. So starting from December until March, it was there was a long time of discussions. At that time, the provincial commission had left, and there was someone acting. And so I came in to take over from someone who was already acting at the time. My aim was to be appointed before the provincial commission leaves, so that we can do the handing over, which is something I did when he came in 2019. When he came in, I sat with him for about a week doing a handing over before I went back to Pretoria. I wanted to do the same thing when I was going in, but because of that delays, he ended up leaving without doing that handing over.
When is your contract coming to an end?
My contract is ending at the end of March 2026.
Is there any discussion about renewing a contract, or everybody just went that quiet about it?
No, there's no discussion. The discussion, according to the rules, can only start 4 months before. So we're not there yet.
We're not yet there?
No, we're not there yet.
Okay. Now, General, the political killing task team, according to your explanation, I don't know if they were calling it PKTT at the time when Balula was saying, we need to do something with the killings of councillors and all of that in the province. And they were assembling of a team that was working on that before 2018. So before the president made that pronouncement in Maritzburg, what was that called?
It was not a team, honorable member, because you had a prioritization of the investigation on cases that involved politicians. That's what was done. But they identified a detective per police station, per district, to take those dockets. If there's a politician killed, it must be given to the detectives. But that detective was taking those dockets on top of other dockets that the detective has. So if you have a murder of someone somewhere and so forth, we have other 10 murder dockets that you must investigate. Then we have this additional one of the politician. The prioritization of the detective to investigate will be equal amongst all these dockets that he has in front of them. And a matter of fact, you might prioritize a matter of a 80-year-old woman before you prioritize a matter of a councillor of 30 years old. So then there was no prioritization in terms of investigation by the team. But it was not, correction, not the team, but those detectives that we identified, they were scattered all over. So they were not working as a team.
And the president then announces at Maritzburg in an ANC event, the councillor who was killed of the ANC, he has gone there in his capacity as the president of the ANC and makes pronouncement about government on how we are going to intervene.
That's correct.
And I heard you saying, wanting to differentiate between the executive authority and the politician. When does the other one take leave when the other one takes over? Because it's one person.
They're interchangeable. And that's a dilemma that we face, honorable member. I'm glad you're asking that question, because the members are going to claim overtime for protecting the executive member, whereas the executive member is on a campaign, political campaign, and addressing these political parties and the likes, using the state vehicle, using the state petrol, and using the state protection. And we have nothing else to say but to finance that, because that's what is currently the norm. Same with the president. You'll fly with the president to his private engagements, whether he goes on holiday, whether he's at a political engagement, whether he's at an official government engagement, he needs protection. He remains a president. You can't divorce it. Wherever he is, you must be there all the time. So when he then speaks, like in this case, he's dressed in the political regalia. He wears a political tie and is accompanied by his comrades, not the leadership of the the executive of the province, but the political leadership. But he pronounced things of government, of what this minister is going to do, and that minister, and that minister, and that minister. So legally, if we're to ask me whether is that right or not right, I cannot answer. Because he remains the president. Whether he's sleeping, he remains the president. Whether he's in a rally of a political party, he remains the president. We have a duty and a responsibility to protect. We have a duty and responsibility to act on what he tells us. But of course, whatever he communicates, it has to be structured in government. I think that's why after announcing it there in that political setup on the 18th, the ministers meeting on the 21st, he came to this house in Parliament to announce the establishment officially of this interministerial committee. So I think that's where it became official government thing. He might have initiated it from the political side, but he made it official when he came here. And it became a formal structure. Maybe if we continued with that pronouncement and never came here, we will still be asking ourselves question whether was what we're doing a political decision or a government decision. But because it was confirmed in the House when the President addressed the Parliament, we take it that it was an official government position.